Final Sundays. This is going to be amazing, brother.
I'm super excited about this. This is
I know.
a whole new world for me.
And I'm sure nobody can hear us right now talking because it's only got the virtual vinyl Sunday photo up. But I
You know,
feel like,
and I have our mics muted. They can't. They
oh,
don't
yeah,
even
there's
hear
no
me.
way they can hear us. But we
Yeah,
got a pretty great show for everyone today, right? We're just going to sit
right.
back.
I'm excited to dig into some wine and find out a lot more about this stuff.
There's some serious people who know. Phil Couturi's here. Sam Couturi's going to play today. MJ, a.k.a. Black Wine Guy's here. We got Marty O'Reilly doing some music. Carlos Alazraki from Reno 911 is going to show up.
Oh, that's super exciting.
Mike Bunin from Superstore and My Boys is going to be here. I don't know about you, dude, but I was so excited. I started drinking wine at like 10 o'clock this morning.
Dude, I have twin 2-year-olds. I've been drinking since 10 a.m.
Well, then what do you think? We should probably fire this thing up. You ready?
Sure, why not?
Let's do it. Welcome, everybody, to Virtual Vinyl Sundays here with the 16600 wine brand. I'm joined as always by my partner in crime here at the Parents Lounge, Mr. Jason Gowin. Jason, how are you today?
Hello, how is everybody doing?
Well, that's the beauty of the comments section. So we have a kind of a new format. We're going out live, and you guys can communicate with us via your comment section. So what we'd love to is hear a ton from you. And Sam Couturi and everybody else is going to reach out, and we're going to have some prizes for people. We're going to do some trivia. We have some live music coming up.
I've heard there's wine.
There's a little bit of wine. I already opened mine, but I'm not going to tell which one I opened yet. So this is 16600. Let's bring in the man behind the label, Mr. Sam Couturi. Sam, how are you, brother?
Sam, what's up? Your mic is muted.
Brother, unmute yourself.
Of strong on-brand intro.
It was like, yeah, you didn't know it was all coming that way, right? Well, we've already cracked some wine. We're joined as always by my partner over there, Mr. Paul White, who is part of the 16600 family. Hi, Sam. Cheers, says Eloy Del Toro.
Hello, Eloy. How's it going, man?
Hey, Sam, do me a favor. Tell everyone a little bit about, it's great that we're doing a virtual Vinyl Sunday. You guys have been doing Vinyl Sundays for a long time at the Vineyard.
Yeah, we've been doing, it's probably 5 years ago was our first Vinyl Sunday. And, it kind of quickly became more than we ever really kind of dreamed of it. It was music, it was food, but it just kind of became this sort of impromptu community gathering. Club members from all over the country, locals, industry folks who don't come out to things, would show up for free food and free wine. And
who wouldn't?
Right, who wouldn't? And of all the stuff, with these last few years, those parties with the community, with our crew, are the things we miss the most. So happy to figure out a way to make these things virtual and connect with everybody. And thanks for helping us out with that, Jason and Jamie. We appreciate it, you guys.
Well, it's super fun for us. And honestly, here's what's great, because Paul's told me about virtual Sundays or Vinyl Sundays for a long time. And I'm always like, oh, I got to get up there. So it's always cool. And maybe when you guys do this again out in public, we can also include the virtual people, because what's fun is that people around the whole world are basically participating in Vinyl Sunday right now. So it's pretty cool.
It's like a dream come true.
Yeah, and I love anytime I can be part of a wine tasting, but not have to worry about driving home after.
We love that too.
Well, here's the beauty of it too, is we just got our, a lot of the people here in the wine club. For those of you who are not part of the 16600 wine club, first of all, you're missing out. Secondly, you can still get involved, I think, at some point and get the wine still before Thanksgiving. But can we bring in your resident expert to kind of talk about the wines that we got in our package, and then I'll tell everyone which one I'm drinking. All right, let's bring in Jasmine, who is our 16600 wine expert, who's going to tell us what came in the package this year.
Hi. We just got everything out, and perfect time for the holidays. And if you guys need more wine or need the wine for the holidays, we're ready for you. We've got 2 amazing rosés, if you're belonging to multiple shipments, you're probably not getting a lot of rosé around this time of year, but we are finding that there is a complex way to make rosé, and it can pair perfectly for all those Christmas brunches and the Thanksgiving next day lunch. We had Isabel Gossier again this year making fabulous representation of intentionally farmed rosé. And we did a brand new thing for us. We did a rosé of Mourvedre. So if you want to take a nod to the amazing wines from Bandal, this wine is amazing. And like the Auto Tete, can age. So it's already showing so much depth and character and is really complex. So for those fancy brunches that hopefully you guys have with your family like I do. We also got the 2 blends. Those are just absolutely incredible. They're coming from 2017. We were so lucky that we picked them before the fires, and they were meant to be in existence. These wines are just wonderful Rhone blends that are going to go perfect with all your holiday meals, as well as just sitting back in on a nice night for date night. And then the Dos Limones Zinfandel, definitely perfect fancy dinner wine, as well as any other of ours. This is the first vineyard Phil farmed organically. He's been working with this Zinfandel since like 1978. So it's definitely a wine that we know how to do really well. And this will definitely impact all your meals. And then the one to hide, it's kind of a bad thing to tell you to not drink this wine, hide the cab. We do have the 2016 if you want one that's drinking perfect right now, but you're basically killing a wine baby if you open it. It's a beast. So I would definitely hold on to that for a couple years, but we still have the 2016 that's drinking perfectly. But yeah, that's definitely a wine to age, and it's just going to keep getting better.
All right, Jasmine, I have a question for you that we're going to ask everybody today.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you drank?
600 or in general?
No, let's start with in general.
In general?
I think it's so interesting. I'll tell everyone eventually my own story of drinking for the first time. Actually, I'll tell you now, so I won't break the seal for you. You don't have to be the first one. It was in a granite yard. I was 15 years old. I drank Budweiser and Jack Daniels, and it was a friend in high school.
Mixed together?
No, they were. I mean, I surf and turfed it, as a midnight run would say. But yeah. So, and that was the first time I ever drank. And I got home, and it was like a high school night, and I was hammered. And I had my friend gone. I was on my way home. He gave me a lollipop. He's like, you put the lollipop in your mouth, and then your parents won't know you're drinking. And so, for the first time in my life, I walked into the house with a lollipop, and my father was like, "Hey, somebody started drinking," and that was it. That was the end of the story. Do you remember having like
I do. I was in the early 2000s in high school. Smirnoff Ices, unfortunately, was my first. But yeah, my friends had older brothers, and they would always have parties in the garage, and we started drinking Smirnoff Ices with them. So definitely the typical early era.
When did you start digging into wine?
Probably when I was around 20. I thought I was cool drinking Chateau Saint Michel Riesling, and now I can't even smell it. But that's kind of when that started. I also went to France. No, I went to Italy I went to France. Yeah, France at 18, and we were drinking. It was great because you can buy a great bottle of wine for €2 there. I started drinking wine around then, right out of high school. And it just
oh man. Oh,
yeah.
I would have liked you in college. Oh, that was like the girl. Everybody, hey, did you see the girl over there drinking wine, as opposed to the girl who's just doing Jello shots?
Right. Yeah. No, not a big Jello shot person.
That's awesome. And so most of the people who are watching this, I think they got the invite through the wine club. But if you haven't got it, then it's in a scroll down there. You can go on and see what it's all about. It's also a good gift. And huge thanks to the winery, because they gifted a giant membership to somebody at my kid's school, and we raised money. We raised a ton of money off the donation. So thank you for my school.
And they also gifted it to me, and I am trying it now. This rosé is delightful.
It's delightful. So, all right, I guess we're going to let Jasmine out, and then we're going to get into some Sam Katuri shenanigans. So, Jasmine, we'll probably have you pop back in. Is there anything else you want to say to everyone real quick?
It's a great membership. There's not a lot of rules. We're pretty laid back here. And we do free shipping. So, and that includes if you want to send wine as gifts, we're happy to play Santa.
Well, considering they also make organic
organic cotton tie-dye.
There's pot involved. So when you say we're pretty laid back here, I was like, I think the shirts gave it away. All right, everybody. Jasmine, thanks for joining us and giving us some info. Hey, let's really quickly talk because I'm looking at the photo over your back, Paul and Sam, and
that's original art.
This is, of course, your label. I'm popping up right there. And can you talk really quick about this kind of a famous artist story behind your label?
Yeah. When we first started to come up with a wine brand for 16600, we tried to throw together some stuff. And, my mom has some graphic design background. I was a PR guy in college. So this is the terrible, where's the camera? This is a terrible label that we came up with in 2005 was the first time we used it.
Dude, it's like a vape company saying like it's watermelon flavored. You're like, look at the pop. Look at that. Hold that up. It looks like it's only for New Year's Eve and
bowling.
Yeah, and like somebody's like, yeah, I bowled a 600. I bowled 2 games for 600.
So we went to a party with that label, and somebody said, "You guys are friends with Stanley Mouse. Why don't you have him make a label for you?" And Stanley Mouse, for us, he's like my friend's dad, and the guy, who donates some art to the school fundraiser, just like we do with the wine. But to the rest of the world, he's the hand and the eye that kind of drew the 60s in San Francisco. And, all these posters, all these albums, things that are in like every album collector's arsenal of these album art that he, these albums that he designed. So we called up Stanley. He had just done this painting right here. And he sent it to us with that font, 16600, which, I think we can talk about some more after some of the trivia questions.
Can we really quick talk about the woman having a glass of wine? Because this show, what we normally do is called the Parents Lounge. And it's basically a weekly pop-in about parenting. And we call it an oasis where parents can kind of come and have a cocktail. And we encourage drinking heavily. And all I can think is when I see that woman drinking that wine is like, I think a lot of people would think she's like a cool French single woman hanging out. But to me, all I see is a mom. It's like a Wednesday. It's 3 p.m. The kids still have like an hour of school, and she's like hanging on by a thread. Do you see that too, Jason?
I do. Or she just came from a parent-teacher conference that did not go well.
No, exactly. Or honestly, it might be she just dropped the kids at school. It might be 8:15 in the morning, and she's like just hanging on and going, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And then she goes, oh, that's right, 2017 Zinfandel from 16600. And then she makes it one more week. Does that?
She's kind of my spirit animal, to be quite honest with you.
If it was a picture of me, it would just be like, honestly, my head would be down. I'd be holding the glass up here, just losing or screaming.
I'd probably be shirtless on the bottle. It wouldn't. Yeah, that's not a good.
Honestly, just drinking out of the bottle might be really the best way for us. So let's do our first trivia question. Here's how we're going to do this. So you guys have some stuff you're going to give away, some posters, right? Some T-shirts, some shenanigans,
some wine bags. We got all kinds of stuff.
So, Jason, you watch the comments.
I got it.
What you guys probably know about Stanley Mouse is he did a lot of famous album covers. So I'm going to put up an album cover, and the first person in the audience to put the album name and the band. I'm not going to let you just do the band. Because here's what I'll show you one really quick. We'll just do a little teaser one. Everyone's going to go, oh, what album is that? Everybody, Sam, what album is that?
Well, that's Steve Miller Band, Book of Dreams.
What's the name? Oh, is it? No, it's Greatest Hits.
That's Greatest Hits. Oh.
That's Greatest Hits, 74 to 78.
All right.
So that's the trick. A lot of these you go, I'll know the band, but will you know the album name? Book of Dreams. It's not, Kevin. No, now you have to mail us a t-shirt and a poster, Kevin.
I want a poster.
We'll put it on your account.
This is Book of Dreams. So everyone's on the same page. That's Book of Dreams. This is Greatest Hits, 74 to 78. Obviously, Steve Miller really liked horses. It was just his jam.
That's a Pegasus, Jamie.
Yes.
That's a Pegasus.
Well, and when he talks about, he goes, fly, eagle, fly. What he meant was fly, Pegasus, fly. And then the lyrics changed or something. They couldn't get the rights on Pegasus. So here's the first album I'm going to give you. You got to tell me the album and the band. All right, here we go.
Wrong answers only?
Wrong answers only. Actually, we'll give a prize for the right answer. We'll also give a prize for the absolute hilarious worst answer. Okay. And here we go. Boys, don't say anything. Let's see who pops up in the comments. Oh. Honestly, one of the first albums I ever bought. I bought 3 albums the same day. I bought, it's from ND, Live and What, After the Army. Oh, that's Kevin. That's different. Does anyone know this album and the album name and the band? Brett George. Honestly, it does look a little like Taylor Swift. Not Taylor Swift.
It's like Taylor Swift and Cats.
No. I will give you a hint. The band is based on the name of a river. Sam, do you know?
Is it the Styx?
It is. It's not Michael Jackson's Thriller. I think people are going to have a tougher time with these than I thought. Which band? Which album is it?
Maybe Roger Randall.
It is Roger Randall. It's The Grand Illusion. That's absolutely right. It's The Grand Illusion. And let me get that off of here. And so we'll get him a prize. We have a couple others. We're gonna pop out some Stanley Mouse album covers every now and then. So he has to exchange emails. I think you know everybody in the club, Sam.
Yeah, I know who that is.
So Sam, can you talk really quick about your first time drinking in your life? Obviously, growing up the way you did in the family you grew up, you might have been a year and a half old or 2 years old. How old were you?
I definitely remember some like funny tasting orange juice at some Super Bowl parties as a pretty little kid. The first time that I realized I was drunk, it was probably early teens. Maybe I was in high school, and it was a lunch at my parents' house, a weekend lunch with this guy named Lorenzo Petroni, who owned these restaurants in San Francisco, North Beach Restaurant, Pasta Pasta, probably mob related, would pay in Cuban cigars and $100 bills. Client of my father's, had a vineyard. and he would have these lunches, these epic lunches, and he'd bring these crazy cast of characters. And there was this guy who lived in Sonoma. I don't remember his last name, but it's something Italian. His name was Freddie. And Freddie, my entire life, no matter how old I was like 85. And we're sitting at the table and having this lunch, and we're drinking wine, and I'm sitting across from Freddie, and Freddie like turns gray and starts like slumping down onto the table and like had passed out. And I realized I was drunk because the adrenaline of like, oh my God, Freddie's dying at the table. We need to like prop him up, call 911, sobered me up. I was like, oh, that feeling, that was being drunk. So that was the first time I remember like the buzz. And
you liked it, right?
Well, I don't remember any of the other times, so I think so.
Hey, we have a member of the club who has been allowed to come in, I guess. Is that true, Sam? You're good with this?
I think he's in IT, so he may have hacked the code. I'm not really sure.
He may have. I believe he's a My Boys fan. He's a funny cat, and let's talk to him about some wine. Let's bring in Dan Bixby. Hey, Dan.
Hey,
cheers,
Dan.
boys.
Cheers.
How we doing?
Cilantro.
The more I drink, the better it gets.
Where are you, Dan?
He's in that album cover Illusion.
I
am not showing off our dirty living room.
Dan, first time you drank. Actually, let's do the first time you drank wine, if that's a better story, because that's always a weird shift. Like, no 15-year-old kids like, yeah, man, my friends and I all just opened a beautiful bottle of Chardonnay and really.
Actually, that's just Sam.
That's just Sam.
Yeah. First time I drank wine, I can tell you it was terrible wine. I don't remember the first time. The wine at our wedding was bad wine.
Did you know at the time it was bad wine, or were you just?
I think we knew at the time it was cheap wine, and we were getting all of our friends drunk. So
you were just looking for straight up volume at that point.
Oh yeah. Deliver on the goal. How about the first time I drank good wine? I think that was probably first time we came to Sonoma was about 8 or 9 years ago. And that was an eye-opening experience from going and buying, $2 Chuck and $5 Chianti with a Da Vinci label on it to drinking stuff like this, which is, that's going to be a problem. I can't show anything. It's an eye-opening thing. And hearing Jasmine talk about wine that's better. Thanks. It is a better story than any of us. Yeah, I've got Rossi, so homage of a different kind.
What year, Dan?
This is 16, and it's awesome. And
Yeah,
it
a good spot.
needs to stay open for the next couple of hours, but it'll be great then. It's great now. No, I mean, I think getting to know the two knuckleheads in the bottom right corner has been a great wine experience, and it turns into a journey. And so when Jasmine says, "Don't kill a wine baby," we all laugh at that. That's because that's true.
Well, it's funny because Paul and I went to college together, and we worked at the Harvard Club in Boston bartending together.
Really? I didn't realize that.
You weren't a big wine connoisseur, I don't remember back then, were you? Because I think most of we were sipping Zambuca for the most part, from what I remember.
Slippery Nipples.
We did Slippery Nipples was the shot. Do you guys remember those?
I do.
It's Zambuca with little Baileys on top, and it was called Slippery Nipple. And it was I got into some trouble in college. I'm not going to lie to you. That was a rough. I'm not a big shots guy. Even I go to do stand-up or something, and after the show, some guy will go, "Hey, I'm going to buy you a shot." I go, "I'm not drinking it."
No.
He goes, "I'm going to buy it anyway. You drink it or not?" I go, "All right, you're going to watch me throw it over my shoulder." And then the guy's here. He's like, "Here's some tequila," and I was like, "Bang!" And then I go, "I'll have a glass of wine." I've always been a wine guy. I'm not really a beer guy unless it's like a sweet beer. But Paul, when did you turn into a wine guy?
My dad was an interesting cat. He was in World War II, went to Sicily in 1944. And when he came back, he was like, "I want to go back to Italy as much as I can." So he had 6 kids, and he took us every year to Italy. So the very first time that I remember like sitting down, it was probably I was like 10 years old in Italy, drinking some, I don't know. And what one of the genius things my dad did is he got a client in Rome to open up a restaurant in New York. And the way he got paid was that he got free meals for him and his 6 kids for life. So we would go every year to Italy, to the La Cisterna, which was the hotel and also restaurant in Rome. And then I got to start working when I was like 13, 14 years old as a busboy at this restaurant. And I'd sit down for all of the family meals. And at the family meals, everybody drank, the infants, it was like a civilized way to learn about what it was about. It had
Did he ever tell you the private stories about what he did in Sicily in 44?
No, thank God, no.
I mean, I guess this is a farmhouse. A sun was setting. There was a bale of hay. There was a young lady with a bottle of wine. Is that wrong? Am I crazy?
No, Mamma Mia. No, you're right. Absolutely.
I mean, the
Because
war is raging. You don't know if you're going to survive the night. I mean,
one
nobody's
time
holding
Gotta
back
seize
on
the
those
day.
days.
my dad took my brother and I was like 12. My brother was like 16 or something, a little older. And we went to this nasty place in Naples. And my dad left my brother and I in the room. We were younger than that. And we're hearing all these noises. You know, what's going on? And it was like fighting, but it wasn't fighting. And years later, we came to discover we were in a whorehouse. And I guess, I don't know, my dad was gone for about an hour. He came back and
Sure.
Yeah. And then we switched hotels.
Did you
It
end up
was
with more
it was called
questions?
therapy. That's all. It was a therapist. I was with a
I
therapist for
hate
about
to say
an hour.
this out to the world this way, but
I feel like it was therapeutic.
It was very therapeutic.
yeah.
All right, Dan, we're glad to have you. We have a new guest we have to bring in.
Thanks, Jen.
Everybody,
Good to see you.
One
What's
of
up,
the
Jobo?
members, Dan Bixby. Well, that's a hell of a family trip. Says, oh, Jobo's here.
Jobo's here, buddy.
Parents Lounge. We actually have people from the Parents Lounge who are like, "What's happening? Why are these guys drinking so much on a Sunday afternoon?"
Honestly, are they really that surprised though?
For those of you who are tuning in, who are Parents Lounge fans, we are doing a virtual Vinyl Sunday with our basically our wine sponsorship. Because these are the guys, my old buddies who run 600's. So we have a bunch of guests coming in. We have some live music. We're going to talk to Phil Couturi about how he makes wine, and MJ, the black wine guy, kind of famous on Instagram, is going to be here and do some interviews about wine. But we're also just talking about drinking and regular stuff. And here's one of my favorite things about you guys is the label and the link to Stanley Mouse links everybody to music. And one of my favorite things with music and wine is that they go together. And so we were talking to some friends this week about all the great music that might accompany a fantastic wine and make it all part of art. So our guest coming on, you know him from My Boys, you know him from Superstore, and right now you know him from the best commercial on earth with Animal and Geico. My old buddy, Mr. Mike Bunen's here from Vegas.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, look at that art direction. Oh, he's got the Hey, buddy. Did you open a bottle of wine there? What'd you open?
How are you guys?
Good, bud. How are you?
We're good, man.
I
We're
have,
good.
like, you know, I'm thank you. I'm well. I'm sitting outside and the weather's nice, and I thought it felt like a little bit of a rosé moment. So yes.
That's what I'm drinking too, Mike. Cheers to you.
We're in Vegas. You know me. I like a red wine. Listen, I'll go rosé, but if I drink all of it without my wife, she's going to be upset. So I save some of the rosé for her. Don't make any My Boys crack, says Dan Bixby. Ask about Bunin and the Muppets. Honestly, everybody. Oh, am I frozen? Everybody's frozen. No.
No, I'm still here.
It's just Bunen's frozen.
It's just Bunin.
Bunen's just frozen. Well, this will be a fun segment then. We'll hear it in short, little, brief segments. Michael, do you remember the first time you drank?
Oh, that was very informative, Mike. Thank you.
The first time I drank alcohol?
Yeah. Mike, we're having
Am
a
I
terrible
frozen?
connection with you. You're freezing. Are you okay? Yeah. Okay. Well, what was the first time? Do you remember the first time you drank and what happened? Well,
Yes, I do remember the first time I actually drank.
Oh, there he is.
But I was very young. I was probably 10 years old at the most.
really?
I hope I haven't lost my connection.
No, you're
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
we just
yeah,
have a lot of
because-
questions.
Because though it was a holiday dinner, it's Passover, and the youngest child is the wine prayer. So I was the youngest, so I said the wine prayer, and I grabbed the nearest wine glass of Manischewitz and just banged it right down, to which I don't think my parents expected. And yes, it got me drunk pretty quickly. I'm not gonna lie.
Four cups. You had to have 4 cups that night, right?
Did you drink again for a while? Oh, that's not what Sam says. It's 4 cups, right? Is that right? What was the first time you were out with your friends drinking?
I couldn't wait to say the prayer again next year. I was not. I wouldn't. I was not an early bloomer. In high school, I was the guy that could have like 2 beers and be pretty drunk.
That was my nickname when my friends used to call me 2-Course Kaler.
What did they call you?
2-Course Kaler, because I got so hammered. Like my friends, I just couldn't. And I used to take it like as an insult. And for years, these guys would spend hundreds of dollars getting drunk when I literally could get drunk on like $14. And I don't know why I fought it. I tried to keep up with them drinking. I don't know why. It's like if a weightlifter was like lifting thousands of pounds and you were like, well, I can only lift 250. And then you go like, well, I don't care. Just put 1,000 pounds on here. I'm going to see if I can bench this. Like, I don't know why, but that was the mentality of alcohol back in the day of like trying to keep up with everybody when you're like, it's good to be a lightweight. It
is from a cost standpoint alone. Once I grew a tolerance, things got a lot more expensive for me.
Yes, I agree. We're going to have Bunin log out and log back in. He has a terrible signal. Mike, you're getting out of here. Sorry, buddy.
Thanks for coming.
He was going to bring some albums. Let's do one more album. We're going to have we have a musical guest coming up in a minute or two. We'll do one more album cover now that everyone kind of gets the game, I think. Oh, this is a good one and a little obscure, I think, for him. I didn't realize that he had done this one. Here's the album. You tell me the band and then tell me the album name. Anybody in the comments? We can start giving some hints. Actually, it kind of works with what you guys also sell, right? Sam?
Red wine.
Well, you sell red wine, but you also make something else that's very organic. And I think that the people who like this album might like that as well.
You're not talking about the olive oil, I'm guessing.
No, that's when we show the Dean Martin albums later. But this one's do you
make olive oil?
They make olive oil. There it is, Ron Grant. Ron, what's the album name? Jobo, yeah. He got it. It's Doobies. It's the Doobie Brothers. What's the it does look like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Kevin Burns. He might have done them too. What's the album cover?
Possibly the cover for an 80s video game.
Does anybody know the album name?
Sibling Rivalry.
Yes! Did you know that for real? Victor Woolworth got it. Victor Woolworth.
Good job,
on Victor.
Sibling Rivalry. All right, Victor.
You went to preschool with that guy.
You went to preschool with him?
With Victor.
Very nice.
You got to appreciate the comedy of the Doobies, though. They're not brothers. None of them are brothers. They make an album called the Doobie Brothers. They make a band called the Doobie Brothers. And then the album title is called Sibling Rivalry. None of them are related. I just find that so brilliant and funny to me.
It is brilliant and funny.
Yeah. The Doobie Brothers. And back in the time, I guess, do people still call them Doobies? They should. It's a great name.
I don't know. I don't hang out with the younger crowd enough to know now.
What do they call? They don't call it joints anymore, right? Or they don't call them
blunt.
It's a blunt.
Is it a blunt now?
I think a blunt's mixed with tobacco. It's mixed with
that's like a sweep. Personal joints is my favorite part of all of COVID. I don't have to share my joints with anybody else anymore. So I call them joints. Roll your own.
Kevin says that it is actually now called spliff.
I still like grass. I think grass and groovy. I want to bring back some of the vernacular from those years. All right, you guys ready for some music? Let's do a song, shall we?
Yeah,
let's do it. Do you want to set this up a little bit, Sam? Because this guy is a friend of yours, and he plays your Real Vinyl Sundays, right?
He does indeed. He's a local guy, talented musician. He's got a band called the Old Soul Orchestra, and can be found sometimes working at the tasting room here. Lives down the street, tours all over the country. My good friend Marty O'Reilly.
Hey, everybody.
Well, we're all going to get out of here. We're going to let Marty play a song while we refill our glasses, which you guys should all do. Enjoy some music, and we'll be back, and we're going to have Phil Katuri coming in soon. MJ, the Black Wine Guy, is going to be here. Jasmine will pop back in, and we'll talk some more wine and some more music in a couple here on Virtual Vinyl Sundays. All right, Marty, it's all yours.
All right. Thought I'd try and bust out the banjo. I haven't done that in a long time, but just sitting in the closet, and I thought I'd take it out. Sam asked me if I could play something Grateful Dead related, and I know two sort of old American standards that the Grateful Dead covered, and this is one of them. It's called Samson and Delilah.
Are you ready by Samson? Told from his birth, was the strongest man who lived on earth. One day while Samson was walking along, looked down on the ground and saw no jawbone. Stretched out his arms, his chains broke like a flame. Picked up the jawbone and wanted he won. 10,000 stood shot in her head. By the time we got to moving, 10,000 was dead. And if I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, good Lord, I'd tear this building, tear this whole building down. Well, Delilah, she was a woman both fine and fair. Had good looks, got nose, and cold black hair. She sat down on Samson's knees. She said, "You better tell me where your strength lies, if you please." And she spoke so fine, spoke so fair. Samson said his strength lied in his hair. So she shaved his head, just as clean as her hand. He became as natural as any other man. Yeah. If I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, wouldn't Lord I tear this building. If I had my way, if I had my way, if I had my way, I would tear this building, tear this whole building down.
Is the abridged version because it's much longer. Probably too long for this. Oh, I can't hear you. I think you're still muted.
Right.
There we
I
go.
muted myself because I didn't want. All of a sudden, I had to scream at kids. I had to mute myself.
Good looking out.
Marty O'Reilly, thank you for playing. We're going to have you come back at the end of the show as well. Please, people, check out Marty's music at martyoreilly.com. Thanks. That was really cool. We'll see you in a few.
Okay.
That was amazing. That's the first other banjo player besides myself I've ever seen.
Right. And what's really weird between the two of you, he can play it.
Yes. He has this thing called talent that very few people do.
Technically, he knows how to play a banjo where you own a banjo.
I own one, but I sort of Muppet it. I Kermit the Frog it in, and I just pretend that I'm playing it.
But in the TikTok generation, I think that's all you really have to do. You're honestly, sometimes you even get more likes if you look like I don't know how to play it. Like,
you know what I do? I just lip sync to Kermit, and everybody thinks it's me anyway.
Yeah. Hey, we had another special guest who stopped by this week to give a little take on alcohol. Our friend who plays Deputy Garcia from Reno 911, Mr. Carlos Alazraqui, stopped by, and we have a little clip from him. You want to play that, Jason?
Absolutely, I do. Hold on 1 second.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm affecting this voice. My name is Carlos Alazraqui, the voice of Rocco and many other characters. And I'm affecting this voice because I believe I'm going to say hello to all my friends at 16600, a very wonderful winery. And, you know, when I drink wine, I tend to put on this voice. When I drink whiskey, I tend to put on this one. Give me a scotch. But when one drinks wine, one must be refined. And so I must say hello. Good evening, good day to all of you out there in wine world. How are you? Sideways too. Oh gosh, Sideways. What a movie, right? About wine, and you gotta love the Merlot, and you gotta love Paul Thomas. What's his name? Paul Giamatti. Bart Giamatti. My dad. He was a commissioner of baseball. He's the guy that sent Pete Rose to the. A great voiceover actor, Eric Bauza, once said, "If you're gonna do Paul Giamatti, you gotta swallow your shoulder." Oh, geez, I don't know about this. I can't lie. I can't lie anymore for you. You're getting married. What are you doing? So,
Carlos, I understand that. I understand Billy Crystal really likes wine.
Well, I've heard that.
You know who likes wine is Mike Wazowski. Billy Crystal loves wine. But, you know, Sully, after a hard day scaring people and now making them laugh on the laugh floor, I like to sit down to a nice green. You know what I call it? A Pinot Grigio. A Pinot Grino. You see what I did there? That's a joke. No, you know why I like to drink wine? Take a guess. I'm a lifelong Clipper fan. That means that occasionally I have to guzzle, but I don't want you to do that because you don't have to suffer like I suffer. I like to drink a nice Pinot Noir. It's a fruity, you know, very nice red. It calms me down after the Clippers blow a game by not making shots. You know, game 6, I think it was game 5 last year, maybe game 2 or 3. Cousins was guarding the guy, Aiken. He dunks it. The Clippers lose. Right straight to the bottle I went. It was a nice Pinot Noir. It was probably about a $200 bottle that I finished in 20 seconds because I couldn't handle the stress anymore.
Hey, so, Billy, what one of your movies do you think would go best with a nice bottle of wine?
Harry Met Sally. You know, it's got to be that. It's so romantic. He runs after her on New Year's Eve, right? I run after her on New Year's Eve. We get back together. Plus, I spit grapes at the window. So that's kind of a foreshadowing, right? You know, my spit and grapes, that's making a wine right there. You know, Lucy used her feet. I use my mouth and my incisors to make wine. That's why
it's a different technique. Yeah, for sure.
Very different technique. And, you know, Meg Ryan is going to make you cry and want to drink. I'll have what she's having, which is a Pinot Noir.
That's hilarious, dude. That's really funny. So yeah, we had a bunch of clips from him coming in talking about wine and talking about his. What's crazy? I don't know if we're going to show the clip later, but he didn't drink till he was 22. That's when I knew.
22. Can you imagine being 22 and that's when you had your first sip of alcohol?
Something's wrong. I don't trust people like that. That's crazy.
Now I seldom go past 10:30 in the morning before I have to have a sip to survive the twins.
Yeah, no, trust me. Every morning I'm just drinking away. And there's Sam's not in the room. I'm going to bring in MJ, I think, because we have our special guest here today. Phil is here. So can we bring MJ in? We'll bring him in. We'll let them start to realize they're on.
There he is. Hey, MJ, what's up, buddy?
You guys are funny as fuck. You're so fucking funny. I'm over here in the green room.
Finally, somebody swore and broke the seal. And of course, it's MJ, the
black guy from New Jersey.
Well, we got to chat last time. You and I met on the last, we did that one on Zoom or something and kind of Phil Donahue'd with everybody on. And you made me laugh so hard, dude. We were talking that day about wine. And I've been a huge follower of your Instagram account, which is exactly where people can find you, at Black Wine Guy. Yeah. So thank you for coming to do this. We're going to have, I believe Phil is ready. Sam, I see a nod and stuff. So we're all going to leave. MJ, you and Phil can do a little wine discussion because obviously I don't know enough, so I'm going to have to back out of here. So
I barely know enough myself. I've been fooling people for the past, year and a half for sure, but it's working for me. So
it's not going too badly so far. So let's get Sam out. I'm going to get Jason out.
Oh, good evening.
No, Jason's back in. Where's Jason? There he goes. He's out. I'm going to let you do a little intro to our guest today because you know way more than I do. And then I'm going to bring him in.
All right.
Brother.
So I'm just going to be, this is very informal. I love this this wine club. I love the winery that you guys put together. So the guy we got coming in right now, you guys know, if you're on the mailing list, you know, he's an OG. He's an OG of the wine game and biodynamic and organic farming. He's an OG in the weed game. So he's got me rocking tie-dye, the one and only Phil Couture.
Thanks, MJ. How are you?
Man, how you doing? So good to see you again, man.
It's great to see you. It's great to see everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I just got to give Kevin Burns some shit. Yeah, good to see you, Burns. Comments, Phil the Great from Roger Randall. You're looking good, man. Looking good. Had a good harvest?
Yeah, well, the harvest is over. You know, as soon as the harvest ended, we got 10 inches of rain. And as soon as that ended, I took off, went down and heard Dead and Company for 3 days in Hollywood Bowl. And sort of a psychedelic rebirth. You have to tweak all the ideas in your head by some really good music.
No, I couldn't agree more, man. There are few things more good for the creative part of mind than some music and some psychedelics and some marijuana, and some people, and just.
Well, wine and music, have all these all these nuances. There's a lot of layers. There's simplicity and there's complexity, and I happen to like complexity. And so I always try to make my life a little more complex by adding as much at one time as I can.
No, it's very true. It's very true that it's. I think I started using the term instead of balanced, harmony, because like a wine, it's not like when you're listening to you're at a show and they're jamming, it's not about balance, it's about harmony. And even when the jazz musicians would go off and improvise, they always found a way to bring it back. They said it just added layers of complexity to it. And so that's always, like, for me, wine and music, they're so symbiotic, so intertwined.
Well, the big key is communication, is listening, is following the flavor to the next note, so to speak. And so you could go off. You could go off thinking about what you're hearing, what you're tasting. But when things gel, they'll always come back to the center, and that's the communication. And wine's a great communicator. It's a great communicator as we talk. It's a great communicator as we drink. It's a great communicator as we listen to music, because it attacks multiple senses: flavor, taste, texture, aroma. All these things are happening at once. You separate them out, you put them back together, and that's why I want complex wine. And I won't guzzle a $200 bottle of Pinot really quick. I'll take it.
No,
but that's why I'm a Warriors fan, because as the Warriors play, there's always hilarity, there's always a looseness, there's always complexity, and they're seriously funny.
No, for sure, man. Let's talk a little bit about. So I'll tell you right now. Thanks to you and Sam for the wines. I'm drinking the 2020 Mourvèdre Rosé from the Rossi Ranch.
Yeah,
this is fucking delicious. What is going on in this wine, man?
Well, I'm drinking a wine from the Rossi Ranch. Also, I'm drinking the 2019 Amage Blanc. I just maybe should have Sam bring me the taste of the 2020 Mourvèdre Rosé. Rossi Ranch is a real special spot. It's a 40-acre vineyard, and it's between Sonoma Mountain and the Mykonos Mountains, outside of Kenwood. Has as many different soils as I have fingers on my hands, and actually, a lot of people have heard this is a vineyard where I met my wife over 40 years ago picking grapes. And there's Valentino Rossi, so when somebody's named Valentino, there has to be a little romance in the vineyard all the time.
Well,
and you know, and the thing about the Rossi Ranch, and you know, I grow, you know, approximately around 700 acres of grapes. The majority of it Cabernet. I think it's like 60-70% Cab. The Rossi Ranch is all Rhone varieties and Zinfandel, large berried varieties. Has some Syrah in there, more bed. And it's one of the coolest spots I get in the winter, and one of the hottest spots I get in the summer. But because of the complexity of hills and exposures and valleys, it's only about the 300-foot elevation.
Okay.
But there's not a flat part on it, you know. And it's been farmed since beginning of the last century. And Val Rossi, his family came from Lake Como, and started there with his dad, and worked up until he passed away sometimes in, I think it was in the 80s, late 80s. Was purchased by a man by name Paul and Sandy Odolini, and who went to my rival high school in San Francisco. We were roughly the same age, but he really wanted to carry on the tradition of Val Rossi on the property.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to be invited back in to farm it in 2012. And so I've been there 9 years now. We did some redevelopment. Unfortunately, Paul passed away right at the beginning of the harvest of 2017. And actually, we have a homage to the Odolini, a Mourvedre-based wine a blend made for Paul, because he was such a supporter, and his whole concept on this vineyard was he wanted the fruit to go to non-corporate wineries. Okay, and he wanted to support the family winery. He wanted to support the artisanal winemaker, and you know, Morgan Peters from Bedrock, Rosemary Cakebread from Gallica, Tony Biaggi from Napa fame, Mike Officer from Carlisle. You know, I think there's 10 or 12 different winemakers making wine from the fruit there, and it was a perfect fit for us and for what we want to do and for our whole philosophy. He insisted, you know, it was farmed organically before I got there, and I had to tweak a little bit, change how to replant some blocks that were pretty developed. But it's just a gorgeous piece of property and a sense of terroir. If you put 6 different varietals from Rossi Ranch in front of you, you'll smell an earthiness, a complexity that is really coming from the soils there. You know, there's one place that when we're putting the irrigation system in, we go through a whole, you know, a bunch of obsidian. So a volcanic deposit of obsidian. It's on the side of Sonoma Mountain, and Sonoma Mountain had a series of landslides, you know, in the geological term, not that long ago, but you know, a million years ago. That that adds to the complexity. I look at what I do as I'm giving vineyards and properties and soils that are really complex and totally chaotic, and I have to sort of make uniformity out of chaos. It never occurs. It's a constant battle. But that's the battle that you see tasting the wines. You're seeing this complex wines with a uniform flavor coming through.
So you're like the 6th Beatle of the wines of Rossi Ranch.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm the silent Beatle.
Yeah. But you know, as you were sharing about that, I was thinking, and I would love to get your opinion on this. Let's talk about like what you're doing with your organic and biodynamic things, and then natural wine, because I am so fucking confused about natural wine, Phil. I don't understand what people are talking about when they say natural wine, man. I don't, man. I've been asking this question for like the past year, and no one, you know, every now and again. But I want your take, because like you are considered like the foremost like mountain fruit guy. You're the guy to go to if you want to grow mountain fruit organically in California, and I'm sure you probably consult around the world. But so, talk a little bit about for that, just for me, just and clear up some people like natural wine. What is that?
Well, yeah, natural wine, 0.0 wine, organic wines, all have to start with the best fruit in the world. You know, I was involved with Couturier Winery from its inception, and Couturier Winery was a definite pioneer in the movement in the late 70s, early 80s of making wines without sulfites.
Mm-hmm.
My brother and I at that point in time really changed the game in the ability to reduce sulfites in wine and natural yeast fermentations. You know, the whole idea with natural wines is, you know, there's only grapes and you don't add anything. You don't add yeast, and you don't add sulfites. We don't add sulfites at the beginning of our fermentations.
Okay.
I love the concept of natural wines. I have a cellar full of them. I drink them. At the same time, as Buckminster Fuller said, applied technology. I do believe in science.
Yeah.
And that I did choose to, when starting this project, at bottling, to add a little bit of sulfite into the wines. And I'll be the first to admit that. And I think it is the preservative is in these wines, or the tannins, the alcohol, the biological preservative is having sulfur in them.
And to your point about science, I say to people, okay, I remember being in 7th or 8th grade, and I was in earth science, and we went through the periodic element of the table of elements, and sulfur's on there. So
sulfur's on there. Sulfur is a byproduct of fermentation, also. You know.
Yeah.
And so, but you don't have to follow the handbook of so many parts per million, blah 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 blah. But you have to, you know, when you're making something and that's traveling and all that, you do have to use common sense. And we do. There's the and natural wines are made in the vineyard, and organic farming, biodynamic farming expresses the terroir and the sense of place and the balance. Everything, you know, music is balance. Walking is balance. Walking is throwing yourself off balance and getting the next step brings you back. So you're always constantly off balance. And that's what we have to do with wines. But it starts in the balance in the soils, keeping the biological activity alive in the soils, keeping the flora and fauna alive in the soils, having a balanced medium in the soils, so that you do get the expression of terroir. And terroir is slope, aspect, elevation, soil types, and the attitude of the farmer. And the attitude of the farmer brings all those together. But you want to express that. You don't want. I just want to be a caretaker of where the grapes are growing and let them express themselves. Let them come into this model. You know. And you know that I believe in ripeness.
Yep.
I believe in balance. I'm not afraid of alcohol. I like to take the grapes. You know, there's a beautiful point when of letting the fruit hang out there for as long as possible before it gets to the edge. And you have to take that chance. You have to. If I think it's ready to harvest, if we have the discussion when we're going to bring the fruit in, I try to wait 2 weeks after that, because we're always anxious to get it harvested. You know, as a farmer, hey, I've been working all year. It's what happens if it rains? What happens if it does this? What happens if it does that? But you have to have confidence that your fruit can handle a little bit of rain. You have to have confidence that your fruit could ripen past the equinox. The equinox is September 21st, 22nd, 20th, somewhere in there, when summer changes to fall, when there's a change in light. That's natural wines. That's ripe wines. Plants, the whole reason a plant is on the earth is to reproduce. I mean, I think everybody will agree with that.
Oh yeah. Hey. This helps.
Yeah, and so if you have to take it to the point where the fruit itself has gotten to the ultimate ripeness. The seed is ready. If you put that seed in the ground, 1 out of 1,000 might germinate because grapes naturally abort. But that I could get into that whole science aspect of it. But you want to have the seed ripe, and that does not truly occur to after the equinox. The change of the light occurs, brings that on, and so these are all these factors you have to deal with. We've had 2021, as Sam has been describing it, has been a vintage, a harvest of smiles. Because number one, 2020, a pandemic year. 2020, half of California burned.
Yeah.
All 2020 we had I can't remember the guy's name that used to be president, but it was sort of sunburned and it didn't have a proper canopy to keep his brain from being fried, or maybe his brain should be fried, but should have been fried a little bit differently. But we could talk about that for years. But 2020 was a really warm year, and at the same time, there was heat spikes where you could freak out and go harvest the grapes because they're at the right sugar, but they're not ripe. They've not physiologically developed and gone over that edge from vegetal growth to reproductive fulfillment.
Oh man!
I don't want frustrated grapes. I want them to be reproductively.
That is wow. No, that is so great. I love what you said. You were talking. I was listening, and I was like, "There's a quote by Apollinaire where he goes, come to the edge,' and they go, we're scared, come to the edge,' and then they did, and they flew, right? So, like, that's your process. You take them right to the limit. I mean, when you talk about reproduction, it is going right to the limit.
Yeah, well, I used to in college. We used to describe. I studied poetry in college. I had a magazine, and as we would sit around drinking wine, smoking some herb, talking words, and being dinks on the brink, where you're always on the brink to being incoherent.
Yeah,
but you can't get there. You have to be coherent.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. My son's taking care of me. As I get to the delicate age that I am, somebody has to take care of me.
I love Jamie's back in, but he's muted. What'd you bring in there?
I brought in the Odolini homage.
Oh, okay.
So
I felt so bad. Well, I don't really feel bad. I know you guys. I'll get a cellar bottle, but Jasmine was like, "Don't open that bottle. You're committing infanticide." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I am."
I mean, I'll talk to Jasmine about that later. But it actually cab tastes good it tastes good right now. I mean, it's going to age for
18 spectacular vintage.
But when would you recommend to open that bottle?
When would I recommend to open that?
Yeah,
it already happened, Jason.
Hey, you like a movie clip where a guy you'd be in the liquor store and the guy would be selling it to you, and he would hand it to you, and then he'd be turning to the cash register going like, "Hey, make sure you don't drink that." And he'd turn around, you'd already be pouring it like at the register. Like,
pouring it into Zalto glass. Like all of a sudden the Zalto shows up,
the old ad. How many licks does it take to get to the bottom of that Tootsie Roll? And the guy, he takes
one,
a
two,
three.
But they have their sections. They have 4 or 5 sections in every Tootsie Roll.
Listen, while we got Phil, I want to hear the first time you ever drank.
Yes.
In your life. I want to hear the first Dead show you went to. They might have been the same. You might have been 7 years old. I don't know. And then I want you to tell me the best album that goes with a glass of wine.
Well, depends on the wine, Jamie. That's a tough question.
I knew you. I was waiting. I was like,
I thought that might be
to say that.
The first time, the wine was always on the table. So even before I became an altar boy, and where I learned how to drink wine and smoke cigarettes, because I did 6:30 mass, so I'd go down in the morning and smoke on the way home. My grandfather on Sunday afternoon or Sunday lunch, all the kids. So as soon as you can remember, you had a water glass, and it always had a little bit of wine in it. I remember the first time I got really drunk, but and I tried not to repeat that.
Tell that story.
Yeah, that's honestly.
I got drunk on Red Mountain wine, going to a basketball game, and passed out. And I still at this point have no idea who drove me home. I lost my glasses. My father drove me out the next day. I found them, and I figured at that point you can't lose control. But then, so I was 14. I think I lost control 3 times my whole life. But I can't remember when those were. The first dead show I heard was at Speedway Meadows. I was in high school at 14 again. 14 was a real interesting year because I was able to take LSD before I smoked pot, and I took acid before it was illegal. Okay.
You took acid when you were 14.
Yeah.
No, but
before it was
illegal.
Before it was illegal. No, I'm not that old. I'm only 69. But it was my freshman year in high school when it was. I think it was sometime in October. But anyway, I was on the football team. The Dead were playing at Speedway Meadows, and I was running laps. And I said, "Well, there's something wrong with this picture," and I sort of changed my. I went into politics after that, and actually became senior class president on the free ticket. And this is I grew up in San Francisco, between San Francisco and Sonoma, so it was a really interesting time. The first Dead show I saw was at Fillmore West, where I actually had to pay to get in. The second show I went to at the Fillmore was Led Zeppelin opened for. It was Led Zeppelin, Taj Mahal, and then Country Joe and the Fish. So and I was able to hear some. I was really lucky. I heard some great music.
That's really cool. Speaking of music, let's talk one more second about your pal. So this is the first. The people won't know this album cover, but this is your buddy Stanley Mouse.
Right. Yeah.
So this is originally the Blind Faith album cover. Does anyone remember what this album cover became? Does anybody?
Well, you're the smartest one around, so we'll find out.
No, I'm not. I just did the most research because apparently the record company approved of this album cover. And does everyone know Blind Faith is Clapton and Ginger Baker and Stevie Winwood? Pretty famous.
And Stevie Winwood was in there too, I believe.
Stevie Winwood.
I've heard of him.
Rick Gretsch, I believe, is the fourth. That was going to be a trivia question, but it's getting too confusing asking people. So they got this album cover approved. And of course, they didn't go with that.
Guido Sarducci?
It's very similar. It's Don Novello. Yes, it is Father Guido Sarducci.
Yeah.
Here's the album cover that Clapton went with.
And
by the way, that black bar is not on the album cover.
No,
it is an 11-year-old. I didn't want to put it on the internet because I was terrified I would be arrested for child pornography.
Wow.
But that was Blind Faith's album cover. But the original one they got approved was Stanley Mouse. Phil, how did you end up becoming friends? And I mean, I always, your label is just gorgeous. And I think
it really is.
It's such a drawing point, and it's such a crazy correlation between, the relationship between you and Stanley. Talk about that for a second.
Well, our kids went to school together. We didn't want our kids to go to a normal school because we didn't want them to turn out being normal, even though they did. And Stanley's kids were there, and all my wine career, I really wanted to be able to sit down and drink wine with the Dead, and how it happened. I was was a show. God, you were born in '83, so it was somewhere 81, 82 up in Oregon. And Bill Kreisman and I ended up on the floor arm wrestling, And the next day he said he'd give me a backstage pass. And from that time on, I was part of the family. And with Stanley, you know, it was knowing Stanley's kids. When Stanley got we took care of his kids while he was getting his liver transplant, in fact. So, you know, I always think about what Bill Graham said. They're not the best at what they do. They're the only ones that do what they do. And I figure if I could live like that, you know, and in fact, the part of it was growing up in San Francisco. You had Herb Cain writing about the gossip, and number two, you had a man by the name of Ralph J. Gleason being a music critic, talking about what was going on in the San Francisco scene. Before that, you had the publicity of Howell getting busted, the beatniks happening. All this intrigued me. My mother was a school teacher when I was, I think, 12. I have to look at the year. The Republican Party had their convention. What?
Keep going.
He's giving me signals. Had their convention in San Francisco, and I was a delegate, not a delegate, in the fucking demonstration for Goldwater. And don't ask me why, but then that was before I took acid, though. But even though I had conservative parents, they told me to read. I could read comic books. I could read anything. And so there was nothing banned in my house as far as reading. Maybe Playboy, but yeah, we got away with that too. But you know that there was such a connection between what happened in the 60s to the 50s to the 40s to the 30s in France, and that's sort of what I based my philosophy on. And it just all sort of fell into synchronicity. You know, I studied poetry. Like I said earlier, my favorite poets were the beat poets was Gary Snyder. Gary Snyder is 92 right now, and he brought Zen Buddhism along with not Kenneth Rexroth. I'm trying to remember I'm having a senior moment.
Acid moment.
No. Acid refurbishes the brain cells. But you know, there was all this stuff was happening, and that's how I got into growing grapes. That's how we got into doing it organically, because the food movement was happening during the 60s and 70s. You know, brown rice and vegetables, man. And then all of a sudden, you wanted those vegetables to taste like they were real food. I want my wine to taste like it's real food. That's what I want. I want it to be real. And it's the complexity of eating a ripe peach is the complexity I want you to taste when you drink our wine. Mm-hmm. A ripe peach taken off that harvested and eaten at the same time. That's the complexity I want in wine.
I feel that's more of an Allman Brothers band thing, right? Who's eating peach?
Eat a peach, yeah, but they don't grow grapes in Georgia. They'll find out. But go to Georgia.
You can make some peach wine, though, can't you, Phil?
Yeah,
There are some Allman Brothers or some Leonard Skinner along with it.
Yeah, it's not so good. It's the wines, you know, people like, oh, they make wine in Missouri. I'm like, good for Missouri.
Yeah, they make wine in every state in the union.
Exactly.
I'm up in the Finger Lakes region.
You know, I live in Sonoma. I live in the Napa Sonoma line. I don't, you know, I'm not. I don't wear the right clothes to live in Napa, but I work there a lot because I could charge them more money.
I just there was a Steve Miller quote just happening. I think he's saying, right?
Fly like an angel? No, fly like a.
No, he said, I really love your peaches. Isn't that right? I want to shake your.
I want to shake your tree.
Yeah, that's true. Love your peaches, wanna shake your. Because it's so funny. Here's what I love about and the label. Here's what your label says to me, that you're an artist, because the art pops. And as a comic, people go, oh, you know, you're an artist in a way. I go, oh, no. And then I go, we're all artists. If what you do is that creative, whether it's food or music or wine or whatever, if you put that kind of creativity, I think it is artistic. And that's why I think it's really cool that Stanley Mouse designed your label after his long, prolific works of art. I think it fits into what you talk. And I watch you two talk and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's so interesting to learn about the soil and about everything that's going on. And
Well,
It was really interesting to learn about that stuff.
Yeah. I find it so intriguing to listen to you guys talk about that.
Well, as a comic, it's all about timing.
Timing, yep.
As a poet, it's all about timing. How you use your breath.
Right.
Gary Snyder, as a poet, talks about building trails up in the Sierras. Take this rock placed by hand, and the breath of my work is the breath of how I talk. That's why nobody can understand me.
That's right. Don't you feel like all of life is timing, like where you grew up and everything? Bill Gates, I guess he had one of the first computer labs. Yeah. So it was Veterans Day this week. I'm a former Navy lieutenant, and everyone's always like, thank you for your service. But I've always had amazing timing because I'm always like, well, thank you for letting me serve. Because I became a naval officer the year after Top Gun came out. There was no war. I was stationed in San Diego. It was like a 4-year party. Like, it was great. And then people are like, well, thank you for your service. I go, no, talk to the guys from Vietnam and World War II because I just it's all timing. Life is timing.
The person that taught me, that gave me my first copy of Organic Gardening magazine when I was 14. 14 was a real monumental year for me. Was a man by the name of Keith McDaniels, and he was a retired colonel from the military. He was stationed in France, and he was told, as Alice Waters was influenced when cooking from the French attitude. His life was after he got out of the military was dedicated to that attitude. He grew all his own food. And he did it organically, and he instructed me on how to deal with plants, and I had him on one hand and a guy by the name of Joe Miami on the other, which taught me about grapes. Keith taught me how to deal with soils and grow plants.
The guy's name was Joe Miami. Are you sure he didn't also run book on the side? What's happening?
Exactly.
I had to have some money in my pocket, so he told me how to. I was a collector going around for him.
He also had a strip club in Lauderdale.
Yeah, exactly.
T-shirt contest, spring break, circa 1983. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
1983. I didn't have a spring break because that's when Sam was born.
I love that you were 14 doing acid, and then this guy gave you this one magazine about organic gardening, and you were like, "Oh, dude." I don't know about you. I was looking at like Playboys, and I was doing some other stuff.
I was looking at that too. Don't worry. We had Berkeley Barb. There's a lot of stuff happening in San Francisco. I still have the first issue of Rolling Stone magazine in plastic in a box. I have all this collection, of stuff because my folks took me out of San Francisco so I wouldn't get in trouble.
Right.
So major fail.
For some of the younger people who are watching, when he uses the term magazine, you wouldn't know what it is. It was it used to be there was newsstands, and you would get these magazines, and anything you're watching on virtual, there would be freeze frames, and they would just be page after page. It was like a little mini book. It was great.
I think you can still get them in like the dentist's office.
I think you can. I get Highlights. My kids get Highlights magazine every week because they try to find stuff. That's funny. Phil, what else can we talk about with you? Do you want to hang around for a while? We never know. It's such a pleasure to have you pop in, but I don't want to hold you down as you're talking.
I'm sure this thing is all orchestrated, and I never follow the orchestra.
Phil, what are you drinking right now?
I have the Orlini Homage, the 2018, which. Homage, the Rossi is more Grenache based. This is Mourvedre based, or Mourvedre, if I want to practice my French.
Phil, what would be the perfect album to accompany that bottle of wine?
As far as an album goes, it's Live Dead. It's 50 years old this year, right? This year, that's what I wrote all my papers to. I like that long jam. American Beauty and Working Man's Dead are definitely classics, and they have some great lyrics. But I like the jam. I like something that I don't have to listen to the breaks because there is none.
You don't like any stop in between.
No, I get bored.
Literally for those 3 seconds, you're like, God.
Yeah, I know. You know.
Phil, I got a question. Because it seems a theme. So I have the 2020 Mourvèdre Rosé, and then what you're drinking is the Mourvèdre Homage. What? And I know for a fact I said this first on the interwebs. The Mourvèdre makes it Mo better. What is it about Mourvèdre that you like working with?
Well, Grenache is fruity. Grenache doesn't have a lot of anthocyanins, so it doesn't have a lot of color to it. Similar to a Pinot. Mourvèdre has this depth, this depth of flavor. It's earthy. A Beaucastel is more Mourvèdre than Chardonnay is more Mourvèdre than Grenache. I love Grenache. Don't get me wrong.
So do I. I love Grenache, but they say Mourvèdre is like the unsung hero of GSM.
Yeah. Mourvèdre adds complexity to it. And it comes out earlier. It goes through veraison earlier. It never really gets ripe. It does get ripe, but it doesn't have as ripe as Grenache. So it's used as a balance to bring the alcohols down a little bit. It's a perfect marriage, and that's why they have quote GSM. I always associate GSM to Australian wines, which I'm not a big fan of. So the Rhone blend, in a Southern Rhone blend, I want either Mourvèdre or Grenache to be the leader. I want Syrah to be the backbone and add 5 to 10%. Mm-hmm. But as the Grenache vine gets older, it gets better color and it doesn't need as much. Okay. That's a Baroche where he has 100-year-old Grenache, 100% wine, on what he calls pure. And wow, it has a complexity that you won't find in the younger vines. And Sundays is the one day I really have off. So I was able to, this morning, sort of organize my cellar to find out what I had lost in there, I personally, and it's what I want to do with our wines. I want these to become collectors' wines. Mm-hmm. I want you to take the Simon's Cab, the 2016 or 2017, whatever you're drinking right now, and I want it 10 years from now. I want these wines, because as you get older, to me, I want to have that complexity that comes with age. And that's why I keep telling my sons I'm really complex, but you just don't see it.
Hey, so we have one of our. Is this one of the albums? What's this?
This is Live Dead.
Live Dead.
Live Dead, right? Okay, yeah.
And that's Rosie McGee took that photo.
Where are you?
Oh, where am I?
Are you in the photo?
I was at home at 14 trying to figure out how to get high.
And how to organically garden. Hey, we have our special guest, Mike Bunen's back. Do you want to hang, Phil, and chat with our guest, or do you want to pop out?
I'll say hi. Yeah.
All right, let's bring in Mike Bunen again. Mike,
what's up, buddy?
Hey, buddy.
Hello, everyone.
So,
sorry
Phil,
my signal is so bad today.
When we were planning on doing this, we brought Mike's got quite an extensive album collection, and we always talk music over and over and over again. So, he's a big fan, and he has the wines, part of the wine club as well. And we were going to talk about a handful of albums that we think kind of accompany the wine nicely. Yeah. Like back in the day when I was in college, like you would if you got a girl back to your place, you would try to open some wine, and then you would play Roxy Music, Avalon. And if you could get Avalon, do you know the album by Roxy Music?
No.
It's kind of a famous 80s one.
I'm very provincial,
That says the guy at 14 who's doing acid. So relax, Phil. Relax.
I don't recommend it for all the 14-year-olds out there.
No, probably not.
I studied it first. I read the Teachings of Don Juan before.
Although they're saying it cures PTSD, so maybe we should all start doing microdosing every day.
Are a lot of 14-year-olds getting PTSD, Jamie?
My kids are having PTSD these days because if they don't start putting their shit away, I'm going to really kick some ass. Mr. Bunen, hi, buddy. What are you sipping?
Yes, sir.
You're sipping a bottle over there.
Yes, well, I've been having the rosé and listening to you guys chat, and I love it. By the way,
it's pretty interesting to hear how it's made. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. What one of your albums? Because Mike always sends me pictures of his albums and goes, "Hey, this is what I'm listening to," which I love. But nowadays, kids only hear like one song on an MP3. They don't. Like back in the day, an album had a beginning, middle, and end. It almost told a story, and they kind of don't do that anymore. And you kind of always send me little album photos. So what do you think would go with this, and what's a great album for it?
Well, in looking at all the wines that were sent, you got to remember that none of these are, in my opinion, and I don't want to, and I am not a wine person in any way, shape, or form. This is just like a very layman's opinion. I don't think any of these, for me, what I've tasted so far, are one note, which means that I don't think it's got to go with an album. I think that has something going on. So while you wouldn't think, and I'm not kidding, what I think for this rosé is the first thing that came to mind after a few drinks was Aqualung Jethro Tull, because side one and side two are so different. One is sort of about, what's happening in this world, and the other side is sort of about religion, and is it helping or letting us down for what's happening in this world. And honestly, as I've gone through this, the first glass I thought was very good, but in the second glass, I'm starting to notice different things as it's opened up a little bit. And again, this is I'm just an average Joe. I don't know what I'm really talking about here. I can only tell you what I think. I just think there's a lot going on with this. So yes, I'm going to say Aqualung Jethro Tull because there's a lot going on there.
I mean,
with the third glass, you can stand on one leg and play the flute.
That's what I was doing right during the break.
You don't have the albums with you, right, though, Mike? Because they're at your house and you don't.
They're
have
at my house. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I'm on the road.
I have Locomotive Breath somewhere. I have Aqualung. I love that album so much. That's so funny. I thought you were going to go with something like a Sinatra or somebody else, but that's a good.
No, listen. I mean, normally, yes. Normally, I would have said some Dave Brubeck for this. That's the truth, because there's a lot going on with Dave Brubeck. But I found it to be a little more interesting than Dave Brubeck, so I went with Aqualung.
Well, let's ask MJ. MJ, what album would you go with?
I'm going with the soundtrack to Mo Better Blues, Spike Lee, man. Fucking,
yes.
I'm going. Listen, I do like Aqualung, like singing like a dead duck. But I'm going Mo Better Blues. I'm going straight literal with this, I agree with Michael though. You can't go. This wine is gonna enhance whatever you're listening to. So
we've served this in the backyard. We had the kids over for parties, and then we've opened this up for like the parents. And then I'm gonna tell you, here's what I do. We put on Yacht Rock Essentials. And it just jumps from Christopher Cross to anybody that's doing it. It's like
Ambrosia,
Boz Scaggs, huge fan of Avenger. Boz Scaggs.
Dude, Boz Scaggs is the bomb.
I might go listen to Bread on vinyl after this. This would go with Bread very well.
Bread, little David Gates.
All great choices.
Sure. What about some of the heavier reds, Mike? Where would that go? Where would that take us?
So, in my opinion, because listen, I like to pull the reds out when I'm cooking in particular, and as a general rule, I'm cooking Italian. So, for a lot of these reds, I'm listening to anything that you mentioned, from Dean Martin, Sinatra, all the way to just Goodfellas soundtrack, or a couple albums I have called Mob Hits. But you can put a little Jerry Vale in there. Anything that goes with those reds is nice, and it's just nice and strong. But there's a few in here that I think you have to start going into some metal. I think you got to pull out Black Sabbath Paranoid. I think you got to pull out Dio Last in Line. I think you got to hit some hard 70s metal and some hard 80s metal on a few of these. That's just my opinion.
Dude, I'm going, after I'm done with this show, I'm going full War Pigs. I'm just going straight to War Pigs with Ozzy and Black Sabbath. Yeah,
I've gone with the Steel Plow homage.
What is it?
It's the Steel Plow homage. 2017.
That's what I'm drinking.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, it's a great.
What are you drinking, Bunin?
He's having the rosé.
Oh, I had that earlier.
I have the rosé.
You had that earlier. Jesus,
lovely.
how many are you drinking them back there? It is later. He's on the East Coast. They're later for them. Like for me, it's like 3:40, and my kids are next door in a pool. I'm literally going to drink a bunch of wine and then go like, "Hey, can I have my kids back?" And the neighbor's going to call social services. And that's
we'll be lucky if I make it back downstairs.
Now, wait, I didn't get the memo. So when I was on my little break, I threw on a tie-dye because I saw you guys and I wanted to join in. I wanted to be part of the.
There you go. That's a good one.
And so I found one of my old concert T-shirts and threw it on.
Yeah, a little old who, man. Well, you're out of Vegas. You grew up in Vegas. Is Vegas a big wine town? It feels like people are more doing 7 and 7s there.
No 7 and 7s if you're a true gambler. If you're a true gambler, the last thing you want to hear at the crap table is somebody yelling 7 and 7. You want them to shut up. Just don't jinx it. Just everybody be quiet and win money. No, there's a lot of great wine in Vegas. You know, there's a couple of wine shows that come through every year, but UNL Vino has been a standard in Vegas where you go and you get really, really, really introduced to just all levels of wines and great wines. So no, there are a lot of places, in my opinion, you can go find nice places for nice wines here. I think they do a nice job of it. I'm curious if MJ's ever been to Vegas for any wine or found any of these places.
Yeah, no, I mean, Vegas is a huge food and wine town. Just avoid like all the older vintages of like Bordeaux and Burgundy. There's a lot of Rudy Kirnwan wines floating around who is a wine counterfeiter. So you got to be careful. By and by, it's a great food and wine town. I had a dude, Landon Patterson, on my podcast. He started in Vegas. He's with 100 Acre now, and he got to start there. It's a great. I mean, that was the first. You know, Wolfgang Puck was like the celebrity chef. Like he started that movement. Every celebrity chef has a place in Vegas, and the wine list is tight. So you really, you're not going to go wrong. I would just be wary of some of the older stuff, but like, other than that, it's going to be rocking.
I would agree.
Nice.
Lots of anywhere there's money, right? Good. So Vegas, probably great wine. Reno, not so much, is my guess.
No. I think Reno, maybe a little Mogan David. Maybe
I mean, if you're lucky, probably some toilet. Some of those guys probably make pretty good toilet wine.
Yeah,
let's be honest. They're Boone's Farm at best.
No. You listen. Go for the jug of Carlo Rossi, Hardy Burgundy. At least that is Old Vine Zinfandel. At least that's predominantly Old Vine Zinfandel.
Plus, you got a really good candle holder when you're done. You got the jug candle holder, right?
Yeah, and then afterwards, you have an instrument. You can blow in the jug. So exactly.
That's funny. Mike, do you remember the first time you drank?
I do. I mean, but like the first time I drank, I think I've said it before. I was 10 years old. But I don't know if that qualifies or not, because that's a Seder dinner and the youngest gets to say the wine prayer. And after I said it, I just reached down and grabbed the first glass of wine that was next to my parents and banged it down. And everybody thought it was funny and I got a good laugh, but I was drunk 2 minutes later, on sugary Manischewitz. In high school, I started to have a few beers, but it wasn't until college that I started to drink scotch in particular. So the first drink I had at 10, it got me crocked. But then it was probably a good, it was a few years, I'm sure, before I was drunk again.
That's funny, dude. That's funny. All right, let's do our fours back up here. You know what? We have to get back. We have Marty O'Reilly back doing some music. We should maybe let Sam back into his own show. Hi, Sam. How are you?
No, this has been great, man. Fun watching, hearing these stories. And
in there, staring at the camera. I feel like I got to bring you in. And here's Jasmine.
Hey, Jasmine.
And Phil.
Go ahead, Jasmine. Call me a murderer. Get it out of the way. Go ahead. Call me a murderer.
She's in trouble, by the way.
I know.
As a supplier who's trying to sell their wares, the last thing you want to hear is, you should probably hold on to this for 100 years or so.
But I never got a definitive answer. When should I hold on that wine until?
Okay, so Kevin Burns did give the best answer. He's like, now, buy more. So your job, Kevin might be coming for your job, Jasmine. Just saying.
I think Kevin Burns.
Jasmine's muted.
I thought Burns was coming in.
He might be. I don't know.
All right,
Jasmine, I need to know when should I crack that wine open?
Well, based on the 16's drinking so lovely right now. So I would give it 2 years at least, but this is one of those you can bury and find and be so happy in 10 years.
So should I buy one for Christmas and then one to hold on to?
One case,
yeah.
Case. I'm in.
Here's the professional answer. You need to get a case of this wine, Jason, and you should open a bottle one a year for the first 5 years, and then assess where they are, and then like, you know, or the first 6, you then stash the last 6. That's what you should do.
All right, guys, listen, before I had kids, I would save things for the future. I remember like as a kid saving my Easter bunny for like 6 months before I would eat the chocolate Easter bunny. Now that I have kids, I never ate the Easter, like my chocolate Easter bunny. I would save. I would always hoard it away. I would save things, always money. Now I have kids. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to survive the rest of the week. So I'm drinking it. I'm drinking it today. I don't give a shit who knows it. I'll buy more. I'm going to drink that. When you say save something for a couple of years, you're not talking to people like me. I'm going to drink it now and I'm going to get some more of it.
And you can. I would just open early and decant. Yeah.
Oh, decant. Okay. Now that's too far. Okay.
I can tell you that for a fact that Jamie does not have the patience to decant anything. It's not. Yeah. No.
I don't even open it. I just smash the top off. Like
he's just drinking from the straight shards.
It's like I'm in France in World War II behind the lines with Band of Brothers, and I'm just like, we don't have a corkscrew. And then you chug it. I can't get anymore. Hey, we still have. I want Carlos Alazraqui to come back in. We have. He filmed a couple little special clips. So let's. Jason, you want to take it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Deputy Garcia on Reno 911, and he wanted to stop by. He can't today because his kids have a soccer game. But he did a little something with us.
What would Deputy Garcia drink?
What would Deputy Garcia drink? Well, that's a very good question. Anything that's available and left in the back seat that's left behind by thugs and criminals and scofflaws. Hey, you're getting paid Reno money. You don't waste free alcohol, including cheap wine. So, Ripple, Boone's Farm, left over from the 80s, Bob, Bartles and James, whatever those guys were named.
I was going to say Bartles and James.
Bottles of Bartles and James. I'll drink.
That was high school for me. We used to take those, and the girls would have Bartles and James, man. I mean, that's the ladies love Bartles and James, right?
Can you still get Bartles and James?
I don't think so.
You can in Reno. You'd be surprised. Look in the right flop house, and you get a whole bootnuggle of it. I'll tell you what. But yeah. The other night we had a DUI pullover, and there was a White Claw massacre in the front seat. So we just had to polish off whatever was ever left of it, just to make sure it was indeed alcohol. And so we want, when they blow, we need to blow too, just to make sure that we're blowing the same. So
make sure the equipment's working. You
absolutely,
yeah. You gotta have a baseline reading.
Yeah, well, you do have to get 2 readings, and so one from the criminal, one for us. Figure it's the same.
I mean, do you a lot of times pull over people? I mean, obviously DUI arrests are probably pretty big in Reno.
Yeah, we're going to go after the Porsche Cayennes, something fancy. You don't want to pick over like a Toyota Tundra pickup because you're going to get some cheap ice wine from Germany that's probably too warm to drink anyway. So, Gewürztraminer, I think they call it.
Sure.
What would Crocker be drinking?
Oh, Mr. Crocker would be drinking fairy juice, fairy wine, made by Timmy Turner and his parents in their basement. I know what they're up to, poisoning people with fairy grapes.
What would the Taco Bell dog drink?
Oh, tequila.
Of course. Maybe sangria. He might enjoy a glass of sangria if he was trying to keep it light.
You know, sangria is from Spain. I would drink sangria. Yo quiero Taco Bell and sangria.
Wait, we got to ask, what about Rocco?
Oh, Rocco? He would drink some of those lovely wines from Australia, probably from Sydney or from Melbourne, and I would drink a toast, Melba toast.
And what would Archie drink?
Oh, Archie would drink what's left behind in the pub. I'd drink, if I had to drink wine, I would go for a nice, crisp white wine, like a Pinot Grigio or a Chardonnay. Anything that's white and closely resembles whiskey. That would be my choice. Free would be absolutely pertinent to my choice as well. And a full glass of wine is what would be a nice prerequisite for me, tipping the old glass towards the old opening in the throat.
Man,
huge
what a
thanks
talent.
to Carlos Alazraki for coming by. Yes, MJ.
He literally is the voice of every cartoon
Is he?
ever.
Yeah. Drop
He
it
is.
to Lupa.
Yeah, he's the Taco Bell
He
dog.
was a
That
Taco
that
Bell
was one of his
Chihuahua
first
dog.
big gigs.
That
He
is
was
like
Taco Bell dog.
that is like up there with like where's the beef for me with commercials, man.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, he's the voice of every
That's right.
kid show that's on.
That's right.
So yeah. All right. Hey, we have who are we getting rid of? Let's get rid of you, Jasmine. For telling us to drink. Sam, I'm going to let you just take a breather, take a second. Where let's bring in Mr. Kevin Burns.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello.
Now,
Cheers to
Kevin,
you, my
you are a
friend.
wine club member extraordinaire. You're part of the family, it sounds like.
Cheers.
Now he's all classy. He's all like, hello.
Kevin, what are you drinking?
I'm currently drinking 19 Grenache Rosé.
I also had that earlier.
It's quite nice.
Both of you had. Now, Kevin, we were told you have quite a story about the first time you drank.
Well, I texted that to Sam personally, so I didn't realize I was going to have to tell a bunch of people this, so that's hilarious. The only thing I remember about the first time I drank was it was tequila, like a good young boy from the Midwest.
Always good to start right there, right at the top. Why
Yeah, just
around?
right at
Just
the
go
top.
right for it.
Yeah.
Plain alcohol
In the Midwest, it's exotic if you're from the Midwest.
It's like the 85 Bears of drinking, right? It's the Bears.
That's exactly what it was. And all I really remember is when I laid down in bed at my parents' house that night, I had to put my feet on the floor to get the room to stop spinning because it was quite elegant as it spun all the way around.
I got to tell you, Kevin, as far as drinking stories go, I feel like that's honestly everybody's drinking story that they had to put their foot. You don't remember anything about the night? I mean, did you? All of a sudden, with the buildup, I thought you had. All of a sudden, you woke up in Mexico City in a shallow grave. You weren't sure what happened. You had a new tattoo. There was some hooker who claimed she was your wife. You were
Jamie, you just explained my first wedding.
I mean, sometimes you got to leave a little to the imagination here. I mean,
you've left everything to the imagination. You said, I don't remember anything except I laid on the floor. You kind of talked your way into the show, and then you showed up and you were like, yeah, honestly, guys, it was really crazy. I was so drunk, I had to put my foot on the floor to stop the spinning. And everyone was like aghast, like, oh my gosh, are you okay? But you survived it.
Well, I still do that now.
Did you just drop the one? Was it just 1 foot, or did it need 2 feet on the floor?
You know, I wish some of these details were apparent to me. But listen, Sam asked me if I had a good drinking story, and I said,
now it's Sam's fault. Now all of a sudden it's Sam's fault.
We always blame Sam.
So when he asked you if you had a good drinking story, you obviously said yes, and that was the story you went to? That was it on the top of the barrel? That was the one
well,
you went
but
to?
hang on. Can I intervene here? Can I intervene?
Please, Michael, help with this.
I feel like in fairness here, the question has changed. We have to establish, was the question, do you remember the first time you drank, or was the question, do you have a good drinking story? Because I have good drinking stories, but that's maybe not necessarily the first time I drank, right?
Yes. All right. Well, Kevin, we're going to re-ask you. It's always Sam's fault, basically.
Yeah.
Kevin, don't. Now listen, Kevin, I just put you in position.
He gave you a rope
here.
Now it's like Law and Order. Now it's like Law and Order. Let me rephrase, Your Honor.
Basically, you're DiCaprio, and Kate Winslet said, actually, I think the door is big enough. Climb up here. See if you can get up. But don't flip the door over, all right? Because then we're all going to die. So here's the question. Well, trust me, this isn't live going out to the entire world. It is.
No.
We'll cut that other part out. Kevin, hey, thanks for joining the show. Do you have a really funny drinking story?
Sure. I'll tell you a great drinking story. I was in Croatia, Dubrovnik, Croatia.
I like the way it's starting.
This is maybe like 10 years ago.
You had me at Croatia.
And my buddy Harry, who's from Dallas, Texas, which is a hilarious state to hang out with people. We were at a club, and the only reason I remember this is it was called the East-West Club, and it's on the beach somewhere in Croatia. And I remember standing next to Harry, and in walks Tara Reid. And if we all remember Tara Reid from American Pie,
and every Sharknado movie ever.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, hey, listen, I remember American Pie, and it was, you know, it was Tara Reid 15 years ago, so it was like cool, right? And then we proceeded to talk ourselves into buying her a shot, and Harry, being the Texas boy that he is, says, I've never heard of absinthe before. Let's order a shot of that. So, we proceeded to order shots of absinthe for everybody. We took it, and I looked directly at Harry, and I could see that the absinthe wasn't going to make it all the way to his stomach. And then he proceeded to throw up absinthe all over Tara Reid's brand new shoes.
Oh, eat it, Josie and the Pussycats.
I could not believe it. I was like, thanks, man. That was my one opportunity, and you ruined it. You ruined it.
I mean, you had a pretty good shot at it, though, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
In my own mind.
Yes, and I would have gone.
There was no conviction there, Jamie. He was like.
No, all right, Mike, let's all together. Let's fix Kevin's story. So the next time,
go ahead, Mike.
It's way better.
But okay,
We're keeping Croatia. We're keeping absinthe. I think we replaced Tara Reid.
With who?
No. Tara Reid is. Listen,
I'm okay with Tara Reid.
I'm okay with Tara Reid and Croatia and absinthe, but like it'd be like, ever tell you about the time I was in Croatia drinking absinthe with Tara Reid? It was a fucking wild night.
Because he saved it, and he also said it was early Tara Reid.
Sure.
Yeah,
we need Croatian. There should have been some Croatian mobsters, kind of like a John Wick spinoff. I like the beach. The beach is given out there like, oh, we're on the beach. There might be some skinny dipping. It never pays off. It's a red herring in the story. The beach just never spoken of again. We're on a beach in Croatia. Then there's no more beach. Mike, I can't. There's a whole. We got to fix this story.
The night ended with us trying to hail a cab in Croatia to go back to our hotel room, and being drunk college kids as we were, a car pulled over and we just got in the back seat, and I realized very quickly that this was not a cab, that we were hitchhiking. So I was like, oh, this is the first time for me for everything.
I would argue you were not hitchhiking. You were in fact carjacking, but there's a difference between those. Hitchhiking is when you say, hey, can I have a ride? And they say, sure, jump in. Carjacking is when you open the door and get into the car. Do you know the difference, Kevin?
See, I can punch this story up from there. What you need to tell people is, so we're in the wrong car. We don't know where the guy's taking us, and we hear a rumbling in the trunk. So the guy pulls over. We attack him. We restrain him. We open the trunk. It's fucking Tara Reid.
I saw that coming a mile away. There's the story, dude. And by the way,
she got
the vomit on her shoes. She still got the vomit on her shoes.
We saved her life, and she's still mad about her shoes. That's your story.
And honestly, after that, her career was never the same. It never was. She was a shooting star. And people have always wondered what happened to Tara Reid. And it was the one thing she goes, well, I went to Croatia, and somewhere she's telling a story, and they're like, Tara, what happened to your career? She's like, I went to Croatia. I don't remember much about it. There was vomit, and then my career fell apart. That's how the story goes.
That's what drove her to the Sharknado films.
That's it.
Boom.
She says, I was in Croatia picking up my grandmother's antique high heels, and I decided to wear them out.
Priceless.
I would just
Fabergé. They were Fabergé egg high heels.
I spent my whole fortune on
Tarantino movie. This is a Tarantino movie.
I knew I was going to make movies forever, so I spent everything I had.
Oh my God, yeah. And then I'm in this bar, and a couple of knucklehead college American guys are talking about sticking their dick in a fucking pie. And they buy me a shot. Next thing I know, I'm in the trunk of a fucking car, and it's the same fucking guy from the Midwest ends up saving me. We're gonna call you Rudy.
By the way, can I tell you, this is our new show. It's going to be called Fix the Story. And what we're going to do is have people like Kevin come on, that guy who thinks he tells a great story. And then, not that your story's not great. The bones are there, Kevin. The bones are there. It just needed some pretty siding. That's all. We just need to put a potted plant out in front of it.
It just needed just a cut.
Jamie Kaler's not known for giving soft or tender notes. I apologize.
Kevin, here's the only notes I can really give you. You're out of the group. That's the end of. Here's what we thought about your story. You're out.
You are the weekend league. Bye-bye.
Can't win them all, man. Can't
Kevin,
I liked it. I liked
it. This is going to be a bit. This is going to be a bit on the Parents Lounge show. We're going to have people
Yeah.
tell stories and we're going to fix them. It's really great. All right,
You
listen,
got it.
Kevin, we are going to let you go. We love you. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you, Kevin.
And listen,
Maybe.
it's all. We only pick on the ones we love. You know that. And just to be fair, we're
Yeah.
going to let you have a little bit of a rebuttal so that you can save face. Anyway, guys, I feel like that wrapped up pretty nicely on there. Oh my God, it's 3:49. I literally have to go take care of my wife's texting me. She just texted me, "Where's the iron?" That's when I know she's like, "All right, you're pretty much done on the show."
Do you hide the iron?
Dude, do I look like I iron things? I don't know. It's a weapon to me. I would never use an iron to iron something. Like it would be like in a dark, I would know where the flashlight and the iron is.
I went to a different place. She's like, "You got tip before the kitchen. Where's the iron?" That's where I went to a different place.
She's there. So
You know,
we got Marty O'Reilly's going to do some more music. Maybe we should we bring the main crux of people in here where they can where's Sam? Oh, there's Sam. Sam's coming in. Where's Oh, Sam's in the Rose Room. Hi, Sam.
How's it going?
Hey,
And
listen,
Jasmine's
how
back.
much longer do we have to do this show? I feel like everybody's out there's already hammered out of their minds.
Well, then Sunday fun day, mission accomplished.
Honestly, this was a blast. I mean, honestly, it was really fun. And it's kind of cool because I know you do this live normally, and this was kind of a one-off, but maybe we'll end up doing this some more because it was really fun to have kind of everybody chime in.
We'll make it a thing.
I think we'll make it a thing. We'll make it a thing. I think we're going to go out on Marty O'Reilly music, are we not?
Yeah, well, he's got check out Marty, MartyO'Reilly.com. He's got a new album out. He's got a new baby. Support the music, support the arts, and come see Marty.
Yeah. Also, for us, for Jason and I and Mike, a lot of times he joins us. We do the Parents Lounge Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. We do call it an oasis for parenting, where people kind of come in and we just tell horrible stories of parenting, so that every other parent on earth knows they're in the exact same boat that we are. So it's okay. So come find us there. This is linked to all of our websites and shows. So I know it's on the 16600 Facebook page. So if you want to keep up with them, be sure to like and follow there. Like and follow us. Subscribe on YouTube.
We're also on iTunes.
That's about it. MJ, you want to at Black Wine Guys your Instagram, but obviously you have your other stuff.
Yeah, no. You want to check me out, just go to blackwineguy.com, get on my mailing list, but also I'm on Apple and Spotify and Audible, the Black Wine Guy Experience podcast. We just passed 50 episodes. So yeah, come check me out.
Super fun way, and honestly super artistic. It just makes me smile when everybody talks about all this stuff they get into with the wine and the music and the art and stuff. So it's really fantastic. So bringing us home, let's bring Marty O'Reilly back in. Everyone can say hi to him as we start to say goodbye to everybody. Jasmine and Paul, we're going to let you guys go.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
I'm going to let my partner Jason go.
See you, Jason.
Mr. Bunin, people can find you. Oh,
Yes,
you're kind
sir.
of blowing up on TikTok, I think, aren't you? What's your TikTok, Mike Bunin?
At Michael Bunin on TikTok.
Yeah, everywhere.
and
Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Please come find him. We're always doing kind of crazy shit together. I'm going to let Mike go. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Super fun to have you. Sam, I'm gonna let MJ go. MJ, you're a rock star. Thank you for interviewing Bill and coming and being part of the show. Super fun, and we got to do this more often. It's a super fun group of people. Sam, any closing words before we say goodbye and let Marty play us out?
No, this is until we can all get the band back together for a real vinyl Sunday here. This was a really good for the soul antidote, and I was happy to do it. Happy to be with you guys.
Yeah, super fun. Thanks for having me. And it's just it's just great to see people who have all the same likes kind of hanging out and shooting the shit together and stuff. So thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody for commenting and being part of it. If you have your wine, be sure to tell other people about it, because it's like a favorite gift I give to people. 16600 wines. And this year's the wine club is fantastic. So everybody enjoy. Brett George, thank you. We love you, brother. Thanks for being part of it. Roger Randall, buy more wine. So much fun. Thank you. Glad she visited. Everybody's there. All right, I'm going to let Sam go right there from the Rose Room. Marty O'Reilly, brother, I love you. I love that guitar. I'm going to let you go out. We're going to let you just play it out. And thank you so much for being part of it. We love the music. And everybody out there, sit back, enjoy your wine, and enjoy some music. We'll see you next time here in Virtual Vinyl Sunday.
I'm honored to send us out here. This guitar actually has some Grateful Dead connections. It was restored by a man named John Reuter, who builds Jerry-inspired guitars. We penciled me in for 2 songs. I feel like it's a one and done kind of moment, but I'm happy to do 2. So if Sam or anybody wants to shoot a comment and let me know. But I'm going to do another rendition that the Grateful Dead did their version of. I got it from Howlin' Wolf. It's called Smokestack Lightning.
Turn it right on. The 16 coaches on. Gotta turn it right on. The 16 coaches long. There's no staying. Signs beside door. Smokestack lightning. Just like gold. Can you hear me cry? So sorry. They wanna tell me to stay there last night. They wanna tell me to stay there last night. A little baby boy, a smooth style. So starlight gave me reason to ride. Smoke starlight. Can you hear me crying? Can you hear me crying? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So starlight.
Something like that. Wondering if anyone's going to jump back in here and say goodbye with me, or maybe I'll go into another song. All right, I'll go into another one here. I do have a new album, and Sam was kind enough to say, hey, you should talk about it. It's called Signal Fires. I spent the last several years writing it and working on it. Started right when California started burning down, which is where the title comes from. And this is a track off of it called Stop Motion.
Oh, it's so reckless. We're getting our youthful life. Stop motion stars across the night. Oh, it's so self-assured. Captains in our battle ships, with gullible hearts, leaning toward the light. Yeah, honey, are we still the young ones that we used to know? So careless, careless with love, all of those years ago. I think that I love something that I won't get back. Maybe I'm better off without it, looking back. Honey, will you be my host and I come home again? Walking through that golden gate, I always known again. Stay with me and remember what has always been. Where we started from. Year after year, I think I got it all figured out. Year after year, I think I got it all figured out. I don't know, honey, are we still the young ones that we used to know? So careless, careless with love all of those years ago. I think that I lost something that I won't get back. Maybe I'm better off without it, looking back. Maybe I'm better off without it, looking back. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me. See you at the tasting house soon, I hope.